I'm gonna let this play very quickly, and I'm gonna run and grab a bottle of water, guys, and I will be right back. Let's check out this content together here.
We interrupt our regularly scheduled program that's designed to interrupt your thoughts with breaking news. We have entered a state of national emergency because Elon Musk has just successfully bought Twitter and is taking over the company. Shall we go to Portland and riot the night away? What does this mean? And will we still have enough censorship elsewhere to destroy democracy? And what does the left think of Elon's free speech supporting move? And what's going to happen at Twitter given the fact that many employees are leftists who told they don't like Elon now? You'll find out in tonight's Elon just bought the f*** out of Twitter special report. Oh, and spoiler alert, because we're the media, we'll conclude Elon's a racist. Our nation began to lose its right to not have the right to the First Amendment several weeks ago when Elon purchased 9% of Twitter. Then after several weeks of Elon flirting with the idea of buying Twitter outright, then attempting to, only to have Twitter's board block his attempt with a poison pill loyalty to the tyrants move, Elon outmaneuvered their tactics and bought all the remaining Twitter shares for $44 billion. Before we convince you how bad saving free speech is for your future and the future of your nuclear family that we're trying to destroy, here's Elon's statement about why he bought Twitter outright. Free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy, and Twitter is a digital town square where matters vital to the future of humanity are debated. I also want to make Twitter better than ever by enhancing the product with new features, making the algorithms open source to increase trust, defeating the spam bots, and authenticating all humans. Twitter has tremendous potential. I look forward to working with the company and the community of users to unlock it. Elon is just so hysterical and obviously full of rage that it's hard to make out what he's trying to say. So for a more nuanced take on the matter, let's see what the left has to say.
All right. JP is doing what he does here. All right, very quickly, I want to check out what's going on in the chat room, guys. Knoxville, you said, I have a black wife and a mixed daughter and still don't think we should be able to limit speech, even if it's racist. If you give the government an inch, they will take a mile. Don't give it back. Yeah, Knoxville, I appreciate this. Thank you for letting me know a little bit about your life story here. And I do agree with you, man. We have to be very, very balanced with some of these stuff that people talk about, especially when we're dealing with free speech, people's freedom and things like that. Yeah, even some of the tough discussions, it must take place because it is doing these discussions, facilitated, being based on the platform of free speech. We are able to come to a consensus. We are able to come to a place where we can discuss and understand each other, learn from one another, and grow. And if you don't allow the possibility of free speech where my view could be challenged, my perspective could be challenged, my narrative is not always fully correct, and sometimes your perspective in connection with mine or building on top of mine could take us to a much better place. And I think to say that we cannot have a platform where this discussion could take place is very problematic, especially in a democratic society. It is something that is troubling to me. And I don't think you need to either be a Republican or a Democrat to understand that. It's just, you just need to be a human being, be an American. And it just makes a lot of sense to me. So when you go here, Leslie, you said, through Christ, we have free will. Getting offended is giving power to others. We control our reaction to things. Hey, can I say amen, Leslie? It's so true. You don't personally have to allow people to, control you. It's one thing to deal with people's action, but it's another thing to deal with our reaction to their action, right? So you don't have to personally always fall a prey to somebody's mode of communication here. And I think sometime when I'm reading my comments, I read some comments that I'm like, I'm not gonna give you a heart. I'm not gonna give you a thumb down nor a thumbs up. I'm just gonna go past that. And there's some comments that I get that are so negative that I have to ask the person's question and asking them, "Are you okay?" because I realized, but nevertheless, people are entitled to their opinion. That's what's beautiful about being able to have these discussions as human beings here. And I think, thank you for pointing out the fact that Jesus has given us all free will, and we have a choice to make when it comes to these matters as well. So going back to JP, I want to see what he has to say.
For a more
here.
nuanced take on the matter, let's see what the left has to say. Well said. And when we asked the leader of the Wokes to apologize for being white, she responded by saying,
I am so sorry!
Apology accepted. Now, approximately everyone in the world has been commenting on Elon's successful Twitter takeover, including former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey, who said, Elon is the singular solution I trust. I trust his mission to extend the light of consciousness. You can probably remember a year ago when Mr. Dorsey was testifying in front of the Senate, basically saying, "What laptop?" And we told you to love him. But now that Jack Dorsey is in a position to voice his own thinking and not toe the line of our wonderful agenda that involves shutting people the f*** up when they disagree with us,
Watch it, JP.
we'd like to officially instruct you to hate him, starting now. From henceforth, you'll now know Jack Dorsey as a racist, homophobe, transphobe, gluten-sympathizing white nationalist. And our non-binary sister station, CNN, has been all over the Elon Musk buying Twitter story. Take a look at this guy that nobody watches saying something that nobody watched. Moving along. With free speech supporting Elon taking over Twitter, many leftists have taken to the airwaves and declared they're leaving Twitter. And in related news, Zuby says the same people who didn't move to Canada and didn't delete Spotify are now going to not delete their Twitter accounts. Follow through requires integrity, doesn't it? Integrity is worse than free speech. But it's not all fun and games for...
I think some people have really taken this way too far as their reaction is concerned. And I appreciate what you said here, Leslie Bates. It's just that people have to make better decisions here. And I think if you have an issue with Twitter having been purchased by Elon, cancel your Twitter account, and that's fine. And it's just as simple as that. And that's okay. And I think people may be jumping the gun here as well. They may be taking this way too far. It may not be as bad as most people think it is, So I think it might be time for us to kind of ooze out and chill out a little bit here before we jump into conclusion, because we just don't know what could possibly come about in a positive way as a result of Elon having purchased the Twitter platform. So it could be a good thing in the long run if we don't lose our minds here. So that's my perspective. I'm trying to see things in a positive here. So what we have going on, John, you said Jesus was censored with a cross. Although this was God's plan for salvation, he was hung on the cross to shut him up. Have mercy. Have mercy. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And I think beyond the cross, it was just that the way Christ was also treated throughout his life too, the name call that he got and how his trial wasn't correct. He was used and abused and persecuted, censored, deplatformed, canceled. And eventually he was hung on a cross. But we knew that ultimately the will of God was being wrought out through that. So thank God for it anyway. Knoxville Predator Catcher, you said social media itself has made us this way. We don't know how to ignore things we don't agree with anymore. Wow, that is so true. There is even a syndrome called, I forgot what it's called. I think it's FOMO, fear of missing out or something like that. And the idea is that people do have this, is considered a disease nowadays, to the point where you just don't know what to ignore. You feel like you have to be part of every conversation. And I kind of know what that is, being a YouTuber. It's like everything that comes out, you're like, I want to make a video about this. I want to make a video about this. What I have to learn sometime is not like James. You don't have to make a video about everything. You don't have to be on top of every discussion. There are some things you're just gonna have to ignore. There's some things you don't have to respond to, and I think that's being mature when you know how to properly balance the things that needs to be said and the things that needs to be ignored. And so I appreciate you sharing that, Knoxville. Very thoughtful. Let's go back here. Let's finish this thing, because I love what this dude is doing here, and this is what he does. I really enjoy his content. Let's finish this.
Elon, as he'll be taking Twitter off Wall Street as a publicly traded company, turning it private so he can better destroy the world with it. Will there be any company left? As a lot of Twitter employees are leftists, and a qualification to be hired at the company in recent years is having a master's degree in wokeology. Will there be any employees that stick with the company? Or will they be storming out of the company and driving home in their Teslas they bought because they love Elon for saving the environment, as they think about how much they hate Elon for saving free speech? We'll find out. And for any of the employees that do leave the company, I think they'll be honoring the courageous legacies of all the brave people throughout history that have come before them and fled free market capitalist societies in order to escape the horrors of free speech. This just in! President Trump says he will not be rejoining Twitter. The right is disappointed, and the left is severely disappointed, oddly enough. And let's not forget how Elon Musk buying Twitter to transform it into a free speech platform started. The Babylon Bee awarded Rachel Levine, the winner of the Woman of the Year award, with the Man of the Year award. Twitter then suspended the Babylon Bee's account. Elon then reached out to the Babylon Bee's founder, Seth Dillon, to confirm that they had been suspended. They confirmed. Then Musk even mused on the call that he might have to buy Twitter. Then he bought Twitter. So when you think about it, the hand of censorship on Twitter caused the death of censorship on Twitter. So kids, I guess the lesson here is don't stir the hornet's nest. Or in this case, stir the Babylon Bee's hive, because you never know who has their back. And upon finalizing the purchase of Twitter, Elon tweeted, "I hope that even my worst critics remain on Twitter, because that is what free speech means."
I love this quote here. This does make a lot of sense. And this is what we're talking about, right? This is what it means to have free speech. Going back to my chat room here, you guys are saying, John, you said the easily offended should just walk away. That's right. Tom McDonald said that. And I appreciate it. And you're going to have guts to live in a democratic society where there are so many different views and people having their own opinion about certain things. If you're easily offended about every little thing that comes your way, this is just not for you. I appreciate that.
Now, with a sentiment like that, so eloquently stated, expressing compassion, acceptance, and inclusivity for people and their diversity of perspectives, we can only conclude one thing about Elon Musk. He is, in fact, racist. All hail censorship. Our agenda is never going to succeed if we can't keep exterminating truth. Now we need to get Twitter kicked off the internet like we did with Parler last year. If you know anyone who can help us with such a thing, please send an email to Klaus@worldeconomicforum.com. Now for you, please keep your eyes glazed over and keep repeating to yourself over and over, free speech is dangerous, until you start to believe it. We're going to regroup, make some calls, do some assassinations, and we'll see you next time where we'll give you an update on what you should think and what actions you can take to help save the Great Reset from being completely destroyed by Elon Musk. Good night.
Yeah, guys, here we are today, right? The big discussion and the battle here, the conflict we have all been engaged in is this discussion about free speech. You know, is it a positive thing or a negative thing? But now here is the thing. You said withstand light. I'm reading your comments here. You said when speech is censored, you are being told that you are too stupid to think. Your thinking will be done for you. On point. So here we are. Leslie O'Neill, can you guys see my post, Knoxville and John? Yeah, I think we've seen your post. I'm sure you are. Yeah, Winston, I appreciate that comment. That was very balanced, by the way, and so true as well. I do agree. I think the government need to step back and allow people to make decision on their own and determine what they want for themselves. People are not children. But what was significant here, guys, was not even 2 days after